Have you ever come across a puzzle in the Bible that just seems impossible? Well, there's a prophecy that promises that in humanity's darkest hour, the days of suffering will actually be shortened to make sure people survive. But how is that possible if other prophecies tell us that the timeline is totally fixed? That's the exact puzzle we're going to try and solve today.
Okay, this verse right here is the heart of the whole mystery. Matthew 24:22. It talks about a tribulation so awful that, literally, no one would make it through unless the time was cut short. But it promises that, for the elect, a group of faithful believers, those days will be shortened. Now, on its own, that seems pretty straightforward, right? The problem pops up when we look at other prophecies that seem to say the complete opposite.
And this is the central paradox. You've got other scriptures that lay out a very specific, seemingly unchangeable timeline for all these events. So how can a fixed duration be shortened? It sounds impossible. To really see why this is such a mind-bender, we need to look at the prophetic numbers themselves.
To really get a grip on the problem, we have to go back, way back, to the book of Daniel. This is where the prophetic clock seems to be set in stone, and it gives us the first major piece of our puzzle.
The book of Daniel gives us these, startlingly specific numbers. 1,290 days and 1,335 days. And both of these timelines get triggered by one single event, known as the abomination of desolation. Now, these numbers, they don't sound very flexible, do they? They sound absolutely fixed.
So here's what that timeline looks like visually. The clock starts ticking at day 0 with the abomination. Then we hit two key milestones, day 1,290, and then a final point of blessing at day 1,335. This really seems to set the duration in stone. So how on earth can it possibly be shortened? Well, scholars have come up with two main theories.
So you've got these two competing ideas for how to solve this puzzle. And honestly, they both boil down to a single question. What does the word shortened really mean in this context?
The first view is pretty straightforward, a literal reduction. The 1,335-day timeline is just cut short for everyone. But the second view proposes something a bit different, selective sparing. The idea here is that the full 1,335 days do play out, but the elect are rescued before the end. So this shortens their experience of the tribulation, not the actual duration of the event itself.
Now, the most compelling argument seems to favor that second view, the selective sparing one. And the key to understanding it is realizing that the Great Tribulation isn't just one long event, but a period with two very, very distinct phases.
So here's the crucial point. For the tribulation to be the worst period in all of human history, which is how the Bible describes it, it has to logically include the most catastrophic events prophesied, right? And that means it must include the 7 plagues. These plagues are described as being way more devastating than anything that comes before them.
So this interpretation divides the Great Tribulation into two parts. You've got Phase 1, the reign of the beast, which is a time of intense, human-led persecution against believers. But then you have Phase 2, which is so much worse, the 7 plagues, a period of direct, catastrophic divine judgment on the entire world.
And this brings us to the why. Why does the shortening of days even have to happen? It's not just an act of mercy, it's actually a necessity. For the living believers, the saints, who are supposed to be transformed at the end of this period, their physical bodies just have to be preserved. They have to survive to witness the end.
Okay, this sequence shows you exactly how it all comes together. The elect endure Phase 1, the persecution. But then, just before the catastrophic 7 plagues of Phase 2 begin, they are rescued. They completely avoid the worst of it. So the full 1,335-day clock keeps ticking for the rest of the world, but for believers, their personal ordeal has been shortened.
So, to be perfectly clear, the days are shortened not by changing the timeline, but by sparing the elect from its final, most horrific chapter. It's a rescue, not a reschedule.
But you know how it is. Solving one puzzle just reveals another one. If believers can count exactly 1,335 days from the moment the tribulation starts, doesn't that kind of contradict another really famous scripture?
Yeah, this raises a final, crucial question. If people on Earth can literally count the days, how can it also be true that no one knows the day or the hour? It really feels like we've just traded one paradox for another, but there's actually a really elegant solution.
The solution lies in a pretty simple distinction. The prophecy reveals the duration of the event. That's the 1,235 days.
That part is known once it starts. What remains a complete mystery, known only to God the Father, is the start date. We know the length of the countdown, but we have absolutely no idea when that countdown will actually begin.
So, after piecing all of this together, after looking at the timelines and the theories, what's the ultimate point? What should we really walk away with from all this?
The takeaway is this fascinating blend of certainty and mystery. According to this interpretation, the path through that final trial has a set length, and for some, there's a promised escape before it gets to its worst. But the trigger for that entire sequence, the moment it all begins, that remains one of heaven's most closely held secrets.